What would you have to do throughout your life to have 1,500 people pay respects at your funeral? My grandfather, Raymond Kimball, or Papa as we called him, was one such person. According to my mother, he passed away on March 19, 1995, at the age of 76. I was 2½, so I barely have a memory of him. He was born a farmer and taught to earn his keep. I have a great deal of respect and admiration for my grandfather because of his great love. He was admired by many because of his lifestyle. He was very successful. He is a figure to look up to and take after if one desires success. Today I will discuss with you his love of his country, his fellow man, his family, and God. All who knew my grandfather knew him as the patriot he truly was. In 1942, he drafted into the U.S. Navy for the duration of World War II as a patrol officer. At one point on the aircraft carrier he was serving on, he began his patrol as normal. As he walked along the edge of the ship, he neglected his feet and lost his balance. He began falling. His life flashed before his eyes, his fiancée, his future. Then he stopped mid-air. He looked up to find his wristwatch securely lashed to the side of the ship. The watch being a gift from his future wife, he made this a symbol of their relationship through his letters, always there to protect each other. Papa was also a patriot. As my mother recollects, he made them rise early every morning to raise the flag in Denver, Colorado through all types of weather. He was friends with Ronald Reagan, whose family remains in contact with his wife. According to the Deseret News, he was the president of the Colorado Association of Commerce through 1965 to 1983. He thanked God every day for the chance he got to live in America. In addition to his love of his country, he loved all of mankind. Raymond Kimball was known for his deep respect of all around him. Reagan once said in a letter to my grandmother that Raymond Kimball believed that the President of the United States of America deserved the same respect as the janitor in his office building. He showed this equality through community service. According to Adris Kimball, his wife and my Nana, Papa was a man of action. He didn't watch the man on the street and give him money. He lifted that man, took him to lunch, and found him a job. He did all of this truly selflessly, not for personal glory. Now just for a second, try recalling the first and last names of your neighbors. Try thinking of their children, their grandchildren, what they do for a living, any troubles in their lives, and the best way to help them. Papa knew the answers to all these questions. He thought of all of his neighbors as his friends. Since he was so serviceable, it was never enough just to know them. It was his duty to be part of their life in a positive way. If his neighbor was in need, Raymond Kimball did his best to fill that need. In addition to his being so personable, with the help of Ronald Reagan and the Association of Commerce, he helped to regulate the local economy by creating jobs. If he loved his fellow men so much, then imagine how much he loved his family. And if the fact that he fathered 5 daughters isn't enough to commend him, I don't know what is. He loved them with all he had. My mother tells me that he never yelled at them, not once. He knew that his family was more important than his temper or his needs. He has 23 grandchildren and 21 great-grandchildren, but he didn't live long enough to meet his great-grandchildren. In fact, I was the last grandchild he got to hold before passing. Through his letters to Adris Kimball, I know that their love for each other was deep. All of his letters seem to have one thing in common, his love for her. He proposed to her at sea. After they were officially engaged, he writes, "I'm too excited to write a sensible letter, but I'm too happy to pass up the chance to tell you once more how much I love you. To hear your voice again tonight, especially that one word yes, just set me to bubbling all over, and I don't think I'll get over that feeling until after we're married, and I'm just too tired from traveling to do anything but sleep." They were married September 30th, 1943, only 8 days after he proposed. My mother says they were the happiest couple she ever knew or ever will know. He believed that he could not truly love at all without a love of God. According to the LDSChurchTemples.com, he was called to be the first Denver Temple president from 1986 to 1989. The president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Ezra Taft Benson, dedicated the temple and called he and his wife to president and matron. In 1990, after his release, he served a couple's mission in the visitor center in the Mesa, Arizona temple. Every time I visit there, I feel more close to him. He served locally as bishop and stake president before his temple callings. This gave him time to get familiar with his religion and gave him time to teach his findings to his family. He was a great scriptorian. He always told his daughters, says my mother, that the best way to prove to God that you love him is by loving others and showing it. His goal in life was to return to God with confidence and say that he did his best, and he did. With his love of God, he had a greater perspective of everything in his life. This gave him and everyone around him more happiness than most people can comprehend. To summarize, I have shared with you that my grandfather is a patriot, he is selfless, he gave everything to his family, and all this was to prove his love to God. Everyone who met Raymond Kimball loved him, so much so that 1,500 of them turned out for his funeral. Local dignitaries, everyone from the mayor to the milkman. The only way to love is to be loved is to love. You don't need to be born a farmer to die a legend. However, you do have to live selflessly. Happy endings don't come to those who don't work for it. My grandfather worked for it. Someday I will pass away. We all will. But I know that I would like to be commemorated by everyone I had met throughout my life. To do this, I must live like my grandfather, with love.